This is the first set, so 4 cubes, and these are all decorated with a kind of a seasidey colour, lots of vintage ephemera, and some prints from some 1930s photos of people exercising on the beach, some of my favourite vintage photos. These are decorated with some monoprints of plants. The actual prints were by an artist called Steph Mitchell in the UK, and these are some leftover bits after I'd made a collage with some of her prints. This set was inspired by a collage artist called Leonore Tawney. So she made beautiful work, and if you were to look for her online, you'll probably find a collage with these sort of colours, these like different vintage papers, some pink, some yellow, and quite a lot of typeset as well. This is a set made with some very, very old music manuscript paper. And all of the cubes have got a coating of encaustic wax over them, which protects them and gives them a really beautiful patina. So this is a set. Each side has part of a portrait on it, and the whole set can be taken apart, obviously rotated, almost like a puzzle, and displayed anyhow you like. So this was a very old vintage photograph portrait that I had. This set was decorated with some prints of some birds in trees that I took whilst out cycling one day. This set was decorated with a 1960s children's comic, so I really like these kind of slightly muted colours that you get on the old paper. Bits of illustration, there's a daisy there, a man smoking a pipe. This set was just an exploration of different textures really, so I used lots of different types of paper, different thicknesses and different shades, but all with a very neutral palette, and cut out abstract shapes and layered them up to get this really nice kind of self-coloured abstract design. This set was made with pieces of fabric that I'd taken off antique books. So I often take books to pieces for collage materials. And these are just some of the scraps of the fabric that goes on the covers. This set was made with illustrations from a 1940s geometry instructional book. I've added some small bits of some pale pink papers in as well as some vintage ephemera. This set, with a colour palette of kind of creams and this dusty greeny colour, was made with illustrations from a 1950s gardening encyclopedia. It was one of my parents' books. This set was made with some antique postcards, and I've layered them up with some script so that you get both showing through, the writing from the back and the illustration from the front. This one was made with a really beautiful print of, I guess it's an orchid, with a black background to show off the print really beautifully. This was a set with just abstract prints, so I made the prints onto paper, again with a very limited palette of these kind of lovely chocolatey browns and greens, and then there's some lettering and various other mark making on top. This is a set made using antique Japanese and Chinese scripts from old books. Really gorgeous shades, different shapes in the writing. These were made with a real mixture of different ephemera, some bits from magazines and some photographs. Really nice colour palette on these. It's kind of like creams and dusty greens, dusty pinks, and then just abstract bits of writing. This set was made with illustrations from a gardening encyclopedia. Really gorgeous, quite simple prints of flowers, and then I've washed some gold paint over and applied some gold leaf. Really sort of just makes them look really quite rich. This set is one of my kind of favourite motifs really. I often have birds in flight in my artworks and journals. So these different sort of selection of ephemera as the base, and then lovely prints of birds in flight on top. Probably one of my favourite sets. This is the architecture set. So gorgeous prints of architectural illustrations or photographs from a 1950s encyclopedia. This set, lots of ephemera and photographs, vintage photographs, and then there's a really nice kind of crackle glaze layer over the top. And finally, well not finally, second to last, this was some beautiful prints of lilies from an encyclopedia. This is one of the colour pages. Pinks and like dusky blues and creams, really gorgeous. And then the final one was this block of 4, which I made into this kind of twister. So I made a tutorial because a lot of people wanted to know how to make this, so there's a tutorial which I've put in my shop. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at my 100-day project of 100 collage cubes. Thank you.